My name is Rachel Rofe. I created this show because I wanted to help you see that if you have a choice, you can choose a better life. If you're listening to this podcast, you're in a pretty fortunate position. You have free will, ability to connect to the internet, and access to all kinds of new education. This podcast is meant to help you make the most of your good fortune. We talk with all kinds of people here from all walks of life because I want you to see that no matter what your situation, there's always a way to create a life that you're proud of. Hello everyone, today we're here with Nichole Kellerman Wurth. Nicole wants to live in a world where women actually enjoy the process of losing weight and connecting with their bodies. As a weight loss coach, she's been featured on major websites like The Well-Grounded Life, Your Great Life TV, and The Greatest. When she's not fearlessly but lovingly pushing her clients into a lifestyle they dream of, you can find her laughing with friends, connecting with nature, and loving up on her husband and 2 dogs. Her business, Wildly Alive Weight Loss, is for women who want to stop dieting, reframe their minds so they can reshape their bodies. And her teachings are like nothing you've ever heard. And I'm looking forward to having Nicole here because although she is a phenomenal weight loss coach, and we'll totally talk about that, we're also going to be covering just different ways that anyone, men and women, could just feel more alive, just feel really good about being here. I know it's really easy to go numb, and so Nicole is just such a spectacular example of just feeling really vibrant and living life to the fullest. So I think this will be a great episode. So thank you, Nicole, for being here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Good, me too. So, the intention behind the show is to show people that if they have a choice, they can choose a better life. So, in that spirit, can you take a minute to just brag about some of the things that you're most proud of in your life?
Yeah, I think just creating the life that I have, truly, I don't think I could have ever dreamt it up 6 years ago when I was totally lost and just feeling obsessed with my body and my health and lost and depressed. You name it, I was in a really negative place. And just the fact that I feel so much love on a regular basis, and I have accomplished what I have without manipulation and struggle, which is how I feel like I gained success in the past. It's become very effortless and easy and natural and free. That I feel like is one of my highest successes, along with healing my relationship with my body. I think that definitely comes in to one of my top as well, is I used to just hate myself so much, and if it's not necessarily your body, I just hated myself, and it was just such a horrible experience, and really working through that and healing that component of my life has been so rewarding, because I truly believe that you're the foundation. Your relationship with yourself is the foundation of your life. And if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, then, your foundation can crumble. And that has been so rewarding, and I think I would wish that upon everyone, that they just have a really good self-esteem and feel good about themselves.
Wow. So you mentioned a couple of things that are just like, wow. So one of them was progressing in your life without the manipulation part. I think a lot of people wow, that's really big. And then also just the relationship with yourself. So I'd love to touch on both of those things. But first, we'll go with the relationship with yourself. How did you make your relationship with yourself better?
Well, my whole thing, it started with, I don't feel like I had really a lot of self-esteem issues as a child. Maybe if I went back, I probably did, but because I was raised by 2 alcoholics, so there was a lot of issues, and I feel like I maybe suppressed them or didn't realize them as a child, and then when I started to realize that, like, oh, not everyone's parents drink like mine do. Oh, not everyone's parents has parties every weekend, once I really started realizing that that wasn't normal, because truth be told, a lot of my friends came from very dysfunctional families like that as well. So it was normal to me even through high school, because my friends' parents were like that. And it wasn't until I graduated high school and started hanging out with new circles that's when I had my eating disorder and image disorder, which all stems from a low self-esteem. And I feel like it just kind of snowballed. And if it wasn't my body, I feel like the self-esteem still would have been there, because I think it was a numbing mechanism. It was really easy to distract myself with my body than to realize that, my parents do have a big problem, and they did neglect me a lot. And, it was just a lot of emotions coming up. And it's funny because I thought about this a few years ago when I wasn't thinking about hating myself so much, when I didn't wake up in the morning and just dread getting out of bed. I remember just sitting there and being like, what did I do? what did I do that shifted my life? What did I do that shifted my relationship with myself? And I think it's a lot of small things, but one of the biggest things that stand out for me is my relationship with something higher than myself. So if that's universe, God, whatever, having some level of spirituality and trusting that I'm not here alone and I don't have to do everything by myself, and there is a greater plan at hand, and trusting in that plan, I think really catapulted me into a healthier relationship with myself, because I wasn't always gripping onto control. And for me, control would be trying to be the best in school, right? I was like your overachievement junkie, and I always looked at my grades and my accomplishments as my self-esteem. And then it shifted into my body, and if I was a certain size, then I would be a good person. So I was always looking at external things to validate who I was. But when I really started, having a healthier relationship, or a relationship in general with a higher power and my plan, I feel like I started to have more compassion for myself, and I really started to enjoy my company a little bit more because I wasn't so crazy obsessed with the external things. If that makes sense.
That does make sense, and I'd love to just drill down for the people listening. When you said you didn't have to have as much control because you felt like there was a plan, like how did that apply on like a daily basis?
Well, like little things like, say in business, you're launching something, or you're getting ready to launch a book, or you're writing a book, or anything like that, and you have this idea that, you need to have this many people sign up, and it needs to go this way, and like we create these elaborate plans on how we want our lives or our careers to look, and let's all be honest, it really doesn't plan out quite like that, and you have to be okay with that. You have to trust the process. You have to trust the plan. If it is your child going through some really hard times at school, you've got to trust that. If it's you going through some hard times with your husband or your wife or your partner, you have to trust that you're meant to go through those experiences for a reason, and there are always lessons. You are always being given lessons, and if you don't open yourself up to the lesson, which usually shows up as an obstacle, you will continue to beat your head up against the wall over and over. But when you get out of that victimization of why me, why is this happening, and shift it into, okay, what's my lesson? You'll move forward instead of just stay stuck there forever.
Got it. Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's also just nice because when you believe in something bigger than yourself, I mean, the thing with depression is a lot of times just like a hyper focus on oneself. And so when you have this larger picture, it just automatically gets you into a better mindset, I feel like. Great. Are there other things that you feel like you do to really enhance your relationship with yourself?
When I was really lost in hatred of my body, just like you said, it's a focus on things. That's all I focused on, is on how everything wasn't right and things should be looking different and my life should be different. I should be more successful by now. I should be married by now. I should have kids by now. It's just so easy to focus on what we think we quote unquote should be doing. But having this might sound a little weird, but like having little pump up sessions where you go on a walk and you just pump yourself up. You put in your headphones, you listen to music, and you just pump yourself up, and you focus on all the great things that you have accomplished. And the reason why you go on a walk is because obviously exercise secretes endorphins. You're already feeling a little bit better. You're outside, you're breathing fresh air, and then you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on, I'm just going to start right now, start naming off all the amazing parts of my life, and specifically what I'm proud of myself for. I graduated college. I did this. I have a closet full of beautiful clothes, and just focusing on all the benefits of your life. I just call them pump up sessions, where you just pump yourself up. You basically, push your ego out. You crowd your ego out with all of these positive thoughts.
So it's gratitude while getting some endorphins. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. One of the things that I love about your message is you're all about wildly alive. And can you tell us what wildly alive means to you?
Yeah, so the reason why I teach this is because I was not wildly alive whatsoever. You teach what you want to learn, and it's really good for me, the fact that I rebranded to Wildly Alive Weight Loss a few years ago, because it forces me out of my comfort zone. I have a tendency to just do the same thing every day, focus on, like, again, like manipulation. Oh, this is how you get successful. You do this, 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 and this. That's it. And it's more of a manipulation process and like checking things off than like an intuitive, let's do it my way, my path type of thing, which can be very kick up the butterflies and make you feel a little uncomfortable because it is different. It's not what all the quote-unquote experts say. It's not what the typical quote-unquote road looks like. You go from what feels good for you. Like, for example, my husband and I, we just randomly left and eloped, right? And so this definitely isn't your typical plan, and I had to really think about, and we were even thinking about starting a family before we got married. And because we just wanted to really evaluate what marriage was for us and not just doing it because that's what society says you're supposed to do next. And what is it to us? And I had to really sit and think, if we did have kids without getting married, what would happen? Yeah, I might make some people upset. There will definitely be some judgment there. But staying to who I am. And being who I am and sticking to my intuition. Now, we did end up getting married, right? We just kind of left and got married. And, of course, that isn't, like, typical. But, we're just doing things our way. And so Wildly Alive is a culmination of a lot of things. But mainly it's tuning into what feels good for you and not what everyone else thinks you should be doing or what society thinks you should be doing or what the experts say you should be doing. It's tuning into your body, tuning into your intuition, including going out, having fun, feeling the butterflies, and also lots of relaxation and self-love and self-care. Because that's what your body wants. That's what your intuition wants. That's what we're supposed to do.
Those are some great points. And I'm wondering, so when you say about like feeling wildly alive and you talk about tuning into your intuition and self-love, do you have, I don't know, like categories? Because I know you don't want to be super rigid. Are there certain things that you tell people when you're working with them to look out for those things and incorporate them? Or does it all end up coming back to you? Do you tell people like spend X time on self-care, X time on getting butterflies, X time on whatever?
Well, no, I'm not really about saying a certain amount of time because everybody's different, right? And every season or phase of our life is different. And so if I can just teach you how to start tuning into your body and the wisdom of your body, then you'll know when you need to relax. You'll know when you're feeling a little antsy and you want to do, a really good workout. You'll know when you need to have a good cry because it'll be sitting in your throat for like a few minutes or a few hours and you just need to let it out. Like, you'll know because you'll be able to tune into your body and do what you need to do to process emotion. That's like the big thing is like processing your emotion. So it's more about empowering my clients and teaching my clients how to listen to their bodies even more than saying you should be or could be spending this much time on self-care, this much time on exercise. It's all different. And you're kind of creating your own little prescription, your own little plan on your life in that moment, that day, because we're always evolving. Our bodies are always changing. And so we can't stick to like, oh, I'm really, like, chicken's really good for me and I'm just going to eat a lot of chicken. It's like, well, okay, that's great now, but don't like lock yourself into that and say, I don't eat any other protein besides chicken, because I think that your bodies change. There was this big vegan, I don't remember her name, but there was this big vegan, she had all these vegan books, and like within the last few years, she's actually went to eating meat. And the poor thing has gotten so much bad attention on this. Like, people are saying she should die, like really mean things. I think that it's great what she did because she was sticking to her intuition. She said that something inside of her, like, she was just having all these health obstacles. And when she started eating meat, now she doesn't like gorge out, but she started eating meat and a lot of her health issues went away and she just felt better. And it's like, we're changing, people. Like, we can't like judge each other on things like that. Like, we're always evolving, we're always changing. So if you can tune into your body and listen to it forever, then you have a tool that is sustainable for life.
Absolutely. So the person you were mentioning that you're thinking of, by the way, her name is, just for everyone listening, is Alex Jamieson. She was actually supposed to speak at my event in New York. So I just think she's amazing. She's brilliant. And I remember she got just the nastiest comments once she stopped eating vegan. And yeah, it's just crazy because I totally agree. Our bodies are in a constant state of change. And I would love if you could tell us just some tips that you tell people to tune into their body. Like just if you have a couple kind of tangible things for people listening, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. So this is the first one that I teach everyone that is so powerful, and it's called Getting to Know Your Inner Helga, or you can name her or him anything you want. This is just like your ego, your inner critic, but the power in this step is actually naming and personifying that voice, because when you can name, so in my business we call her Helga, I'm just going to call her Helga, but again, you can name him or her whatever you'd like. When you personify and make it real, you're able to choose, because most people think that that's their voice and that they have to listen to that voice, but that's not true, and that's when you really shift it and personify it and make it real. And you even go as far in my program to draw her, because the more real we can make her, the clearer it is.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure. You said Helga is your intuition, just to be clear?
Oh, no, Helga is your ego.
Helga's your ego. Okay, great.
Helga's your ego. Yep, Helga's your ego. So she's the voice that, if you're trying to get healthy, she's the voice that tells you you should eat the cake because you've been working so hard. And then when you eat the cake, tells you that you're a fat cow for eating the cake. Like, she plays both sides of the coin. It's not even funny. She's the one who comes out when you are in a room full of confident people and tells you that you are not good enough. She comes out when you're getting dressed in the morning for those who are trying to have a healthier relationship with their bodies. She comes out in the mirror. She comes out when you're just around maybe people that intimidate you. She's always there, but when you can personify her, it gives you the opportunity to choose between your ego and your truth, which is your intuition. I think when a lot of people, and women have told me this, when they first learn about Helga, they're actually pretty upset, because they're like, whoa, she's in my head like all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's power now. Now that you know, you can do better. It's a really fun step, and I really invite everyone to truly name their ego. Name it, be aware of it, and there's really no big step after that, because that's usually the next follow-up question I get is like, well, what do you do afterwards? Well, the truth is mere awareness is really all you need. Sometimes if she's brutally beating you up, you can put your hand on your heart, say your truth in that moment, but really just being aware that she's there, and it will make you shift and want to stand up for yourself. You just innately want to stand up for yourself. Like, you'll recognize that it's not you, and you'll be like, hey, that was mean. That's not true. And you'll just start to make decisions from a more intuitive, truth-based place than the fiction in your ego, the drama.
And how do you distinguish between, how do you know what the truth-based place is?
Okay, so ego will feel very constricting, very fear-based. I think of competitive. That comes up when I think of your ego. Like, there's not enough to go around. If she's healthy and fit, that means that I can't be healthy and fit. If he's successful, I can't be successful. Intuitively and in your body, physically, you'll feel like a constricted, your heart rate might go up a little bit, your breathing might get shallow, just very uncomfortable in like a not so healthy way. And intuition in your body feels more open. You might have butterflies, like those good butterflies that are uncomfortable, but in a good way of uncomfortability. And so it just feels your body will be more relaxed. There's this saying that people say, like, just it sits well with you. Like, that's you listening to your intuition. When you say something, well, I don't know, it just feels right. It sits well. That's you listening to your truth, your intuition. That's all that is, and it's so beautiful. And keep writing that out for sure.
Yeah, another phrase that I really like is that makes sense. It's like all the senses in your body make sense. We have these kind of phrases that we're not even realizing just how much power is really in them. Once I discovered, I said, well, that's a really good one. What are some ways that you channel your inner wildly alive woman?
Well, I relax, because truth be told, I didn't really do much of that as a kid. I was a very stressed out child, obviously, and I basically raised my little brother on my own. I usually had 3 or 4 jobs at a time. I kept myself really busy to kind of avoid home, I realize now. I was a stress case. I really was, and I grew up super fast, and I didn't really know what relaxing was. Truly. I was never trained on how to relax. My parents were very stressed out. And so relaxing and having a veg day where you just kick up your feet and, like, watch Friends all day, you know, like doing that, or reading, having a nice relaxing Saturday afternoon, you know, like tuning into myself and journaling and taking baths and stuff like that is totally wildly alive because it's pure self-love. My husband is a total adrenaline junkie. He makes me do, I wouldn't say makes, but he really lovingly kicks me and pushes me to do some things that I don't think I ever would have done if it wasn't for him. I was a personal trainer, but I was only a personal trainer because I wanted to lose weight, so I was like in a gym all the time. But, you know, like getting out in nature and hiking 14ers and skiing and, you know, just things that I never thought I would do. Like, I just took a trip to Africa, which had always really been a dream of mine. I never had the courage to actually take action on this volunteer trip that was in the back of my mind. It was just doing stuff like that. Things that you dream of, that you always, like, hope that you want to do, I started doing. Like, I always had the dreams to move to the mountains. I never really thought I would move to the mountains, truthfully, but I always had a dream about it. And now I've lived here for 4 years, and it's amazing. Like, it's really just acting out those dreams that you want, as scary as they may seem. It's not like you have to take a huge leap. You can take little baby steps on your way there, but that's, to me, what wildly alive is, again, just coming back to, like, how do you want to live your life and live it?
So did you take baby steps, or do you have any clients that took baby steps that you could explain for people that are like, oh my gosh, I can't move to the mountains like right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to your career, you know, I'm sure we all have ideas of how we would like our career to be a little better. And so writing those down and getting really clear, and then breaking it down, you can kind of like reverse engineer it and say, okay, like, oh, so here's an example. I really suck at cleaning, and I really do. I really suck at cleaning. It's not that I just hate it. I really do hate it. I suck at it, and I hate cooking. And so I really, in my ideal life, I want somebody that cleans and cooks for me. Not because I'm a brat, just because it doesn't make me super happy. It's not something I really enjoy, and I understand as adults we have to do some things that we don't like. I understand that. But I would rather focus my energy on things that I'm really good at, like coaching, and spend my time there, and then hand off things like cleaning and cooking to someone else who does get more joy from it and who can do it better than I can. And so anyway, right now in this phase of our life, just starting a family, you know, that's not really in the budget. I want to start moving towards that. And I was talking to Zach about it. Here's my vision. Here's what I would love. We don't have to like go 0 to all. Can we start taking a step? So maybe we'll start looking for cleaning ladies, and maybe she'll start coming over once a month. And then, you know, as I can start proving to him really that it's worth it, she's worth it, she's worth that time. It's more valuable for us to spend time together and as a family than to spend that 3 hours cleaning the house. You know, it's worth paying her. And so then we'll start moving into that. It's just about taking those little baby steps towards that ideal life. So maybe even doing an ideal day exercise where you write out your entire ideal day, and then just taking, like, grabbing little micro steps of, like, how can I make this happen? You know, like, we want to buy a house eventually. Obviously, that means we're going to have to start saving money, you know? And so that's a little micro step. Setting up a savings that's automatically withdrawn from my account is a little micro step. Just break it down, reverse engineer it.
Absolutely. There's a couple of things that I thought were really phenomenal about what you said. Number one, obviously, just the breaking it down into practical action steps. I think that's super helpful. So thank you for giving an example. And then also, just about how you gave yourself permission to not like cooking or cleaning, right?
Yeah.
I think so many people are just like, I should want this, I shouldn't want this, and I do it too, of course. I'm not saying this in a way where it's like I'm better, but yeah, just having the permission to really feel how you feel, and then a lot of things are figure outable if you don't like them. And so how did Zach respond, like when you told him about wanting to do the once a month?
Right. I had to be gentle with it because I'm not going to totally stereotype here, but he's an engineer and he holds on to his cash, let's just say. And so I knew that it would be a longer conversation. At first he was like, yeah, that sounds great. But then when it originally came down to like, let's start looking for cleaning ladies, he started like clamming back up and being like, do we really need to do this? And then I sat back down with him and I talked to him and I'm like, look, this is the vision that I have for us. And if it's something that totally bogs me down, I could be using that time to spend time with our family. You know, I could see why investing in that 40, 50, whatever dollar amount is, how that's more valuable. That hour is more valuable to pay for than to give up an hour with my family. So if you put it in that perspective, not like I'm a brat, I don't want to clean, I just want to sit on the couch. You know, that's not what it's about. It's like there's somebody else that can do this way more efficiently than me and can have way more fun doing it than I can. So I might as well have her do it. And so he's gotten on board for sure. It took a little more talking throughout the process, but you know, I really do believe that you create your own life. This whole thing all came up as I read this blog post from this woman who had just had a baby, which we're talking about starting a family, and she was saying, basically writing out how her day looks with a baby now. And she, at the end of the post, she said, you can see that I don't do things like shop, cook, or clean because I want to spend the time that I do have with my family. My immediate reaction was like, oh my gosh, she just totally discouraged her in like half of her list. Like, nobody can afford that. Is she crazy? And then I had to stop because I was like, whoa, Nicole, you know, that was like ego coming up. This is an old belief system coming up. And I was like, but I would love to have something like that for sure. I would love to have somebody do that for me. And so I had to challenge myself and I had to challenge my response and say, you create the life that you want and you create the life you believe you can have. So if you believe that you can't have all those things and you can never afford any of those things, you will never afford them. And I kind of just had to give myself a little kick in the pants and say, you know what? You can have that. You just have to believe you can have it and just take a little baby step to that direction. It's not like you need to hire somebody for 5 hours a week to do all your cooking, cleaning, and shopping. It's like, why don't we start with 1 hour a month and then slowly start building it up? So what she said in the post is she's like, I'm thankful that I had my mom model this to me. So luckily for her, she had her mother model that for her, so it was automatic. She knew it was possible. She knew that she could do that. But for me, no way. My parents could have never done that. You know, they were too busy having a crazy time and, you know, they weren't worried about any of that. So that wasn't modeled to me. It wasn't a natural, innate way of thinking. But we can all shift out of these old belief systems and create the life that we want. You just have to be aware of those limiting beliefs that are limiting you from the life that you truly want.
Absolutely. You know, I have a friend, one of my best friends, she hates cooking too. And what she does a lot is barter. And so she does a lot of voice coaching. And so she actually just bartered with her next door neighbor who loves to cook. He's this Italian guy who just adores it. And she was very specific. She's like, I really like to eat healthy and these are the types of foods I like. He's like, no problem. So every, I think Sunday, he'll give her a week's worth of food and she'll just give him some voice coaching. And they're both absolutely thrilled with the deal. So absolutely, there's so many ways. I bet you could barter your weight loss coaching.
Totally. I'm sure I could.
Yeah, so very cool. There's so many different things. Something else I'm curious about is for you, this whole concept of feeling wildly alive. I guess first, do you feel wildly alive like 100% of the time? And if not, how often do you think that you do?
I'll tell you that in the past, I was not wildly alive, for sure. And I feel like it's a muscle that you work that gets strengthened. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of living. It's, you know, that's what it is. And in the past, I was in total calorieville, you know, like just focused on, you know, calories in, calories out at the gym, totally obsessed with my body and trying to look put together when I wasn't. And then my obsession moved into my business and I started getting really obsessed with being successful in my business. And, you know, it just felt very restricting. It felt very obsessive and stressful. I know that I'm feeling wildly alive more than ever because I can tell when I'm not. Like, I can sense when it's become too monotonous. When we're getting, like, even when Zach and I are kind of getting in a slump and it's just starting to feel like we're doing the same thing every day. Like, I just had a conversation with him recently. It's like, I just feel like we are starting to just fall into these habits where you come home, we turn on the TV, and then that's it. And it feels very disconnecting. It doesn't feel exciting. It's not what I want, and so we kind of talked about screens and turning off screens and really disconnecting our Apple TV for a few months, because it's so easy. I feel like TV is such a huge trap for this. It's so easy to just get sucked in. The reason why people, I think, fall into their ego or, gain weight is because they're bored. They're not challenged. And you have to push yourself. You have to try new things. And so even as a couple, we're going to have to continue to create some sort of adventure in our lives forever. If it's planning for a trip in 3 years to another country, or being spontaneous, spur of the moment, weekend trip to Utah, a few hours away, you always have to keep switching things up and nourish yourself with life. If it's going out to dinner with a girlfriend that just makes you laugh, if it's having great sex with your partner, you have to constantly be nourishing yourself with life. And it's when, you fall into those ruts and people get bored, that they don't feel alive and they get really down and depressed. And you have to make it happen, because it's so easy to fall into those ruts.
It is. Do you find that most of the people who come to you are feeling numb and disconnected?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I do believe that Facebook and TV do play a big role. It's just so easy to get you get in a trance state. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Nicole, it's so interesting because I've been off Facebook since September 4th, so it's been 4 months now, a little over 4 months. And
Wow.
At first, it was really hard, and I just was I found myself typing in the browser bar, constantly to try to get there. But what I've noticed now is I have such a place of expansion in my life, and I've been making way more time to call friends and go out with friends, and my friendships feel a lot stronger and more nourished, because it's very true to just, once you're behind that screen and just typing one to many, it's easy to make that feel like connection.
Right.
I'm totally with you on screens. I find that too, even with cell phone games and stuff. Every once in a while it's fun, but they can get super addicting and just numb out for sure.
Right. I think it's hard for the human race in general to practice moderation, especially when you aren't taught how to process your emotions, because that's all a numbing mechanism. When you're farting around on Facebook for no good reason and you're just stuck there forever, either bored, you're depressed and you don't want to feel it, there's all these emotions going on. Just try to sit still with yourself and be okay with the feelings that come up and what's going on in your body. When we start to feel those, we start to get uncomfortable and we reach for our phone. Food, drugs, alcohol, work, you name it. It's just a vice. And so I don't think that Facebook is a problem. I don't think food is a problem. I don't think alcohol in moderation is a problem. I think that we just have to learn how to moderate it. And the way to moderate it is not to use it as a tool to emotionally numb.
Yeah, you've made a lot of phenomenal points. I think this is going to be an episode that people are just going to absolutely adore and keep telling me on Twitter all about how great it was.
Yeah.
Can you let people know where they can go to learn even more about you?
Yeah, my website, wildlyaliveweightloss.com, is where you can find everything. And also, I have a free challenge going on right now. It's called the 21-Day Get Moving Challenge, which you could just go to 21daygetmovingchallenge.com. And if you want to start channeling, it is geared towards women, sorry guys. If you want to start channeling your inner wildly alive woman, you not only get movement goals or challenges, but you also get wildly alive challenges to get you out, living your life, feeling more love, and having more fun, what it's all about.
Awesome. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thank you so much for listening to A Better Life. You can find all show notes for this episode at rachelrofay.com. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe so you can automatically get access to all new shows. Let's also connect. Just go onto Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram /RachelRofay and we can talk there. The opinions of all guests here are their own, and I'm not necessarily endorsing any of them. I do want to give you perspective though, and always